All right, let's go ahead.
Let's
I
get
guess
started.
yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing cranked up. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Just have a few slides to show by way of announcement.
Spencer, do you want to explain your background to everybody first?
Yeah. So, yeah, Matthew and I just we both have mountains in the background. So when we talk to the team, especially Matthew, we have an ask anything every Friday afternoon, and Matthew is constantly talking about reaching our goal of managing 250,000 properties, and the way that he describes it is climbing Mount Evernest instead of Everest. And so,
Oh my gosh.
so we talk about that a lot. And so I introduced Matthew to ChatGPT. So one weekend he was just texting me, "Hey, create this image, this image, this image." And I was like, dude. So he finally got it himself.
I splurged the $22 a month.
And so we had a background competition this last Ask Anything. We created our best backgrounds and we let the entire team on Friday vote. We created a poll and we had almost 200 people voted, and Matthew beat me by 2 votes. So it was like, I think it was 98 to 96, something like that.
So, but the story here goes on a little bit further because Spencer did his with him standing at the top of Mount Evernest. Now, notice he's wearing shorts. So I'm not sure ChatGPT
I'm
didn't know
tough.
that. But
David Goggins.
But this is how I won. I explained to everybody, I had this background on. I explained to everybody, y'all see that Spencer made it to the top of Mount Evernest, but y'all want to know how he got there? There is me carrying Spencer on my back all the way to the top of Mount Evernest. So
what was the prompt? What was the prompt?
Well, yeah, it was basically exactly that. Me carrying somebody to the top of the mountain over their shoulder.
Yeah.
It only
really
took
bad.
me
I can't
2
believe
prompts.
that people voted for you. I can't believe people on the team voted for that. How rude that was.
It was awesome.
All
They
right.
had to let him win. He's the
Well,
owner.
yeah, he actually said he wasn't signing paychecks.
I asked them who signed their paychecks, and it
exactly.
drove me right to the top.
All right, here we go. No pressure, Deb. I've billed this as the big masterclass, the maintenance masterclass. So if you don't deliver, then we're in trouble. We're in trouble. I'm just kidding.
You can drag me up the mountain.
That's right. That's right. All right. Next webinar, we got a couple announcements. Next webinar is April 4th. We're going to do this on international team member success. We call our international team, we call them ITMs. Some people call them remote team members, virtual assistants, whatever. But we just grabbed this picture of, you've got a few of our stateside team with a big group in Aguas, Mexico. So we're gonna come on next month, April 4th, and talk all about that subject. And Matthew, anything you'd add here?
This is something we started almost 10 years ago when you and I were in India together. And we came back and I realized that it would be, the idea of labor arbitrage and the ability to find fantastic team members in all parts of the world. And so when we got back, we started to developed a team in India through Planet Synergy. We're huge fans of theirs. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, we started with 3 team members in Mexico, and it's just grown. I think it's like 150 folks. And last time we were in Mexico, we actually went to Mexico City this past fall and had 70 people. I think it's the largest gathering of Evernest team members in any one spot. So almost 70 team members in Mexico City. It was pretty awesome. I think there may be a few of them on here today.
I don't know.
Listening in.
Maybe so. We've had Frank on a couple of webinars lately. Next is our podcast. If you haven't tuned into the podcast, if you haven't left a review, like this is a perfect time to ask for a review. We hadn't done that lately. And so if you want to leave a review, it actually helps other people find the podcast. And so if you think it's worth sharing, go ahead and leave us a review. We'd appreciate that. And then Matthew, why don't you hit this, why we do these webinars?
So a lot of people say, well, what's the point? Like, what are you getting at here? Why would you continue to share information? And so we have three different things. Number one is we actually are passionate about sharing and teaching and growing people. And so this allows us to continue to do that. We do a lot of this internally as well. And so, we're very passionate about that. The second thing is we think that the business could just use some institutionalization and some best practices. And we feel like it's a rising tide situation where the more everybody becomes better, the better the whole market scene. Our biggest competitor, frankly, is a do-it-yourself landlord. And so we want to like elevate the whole game of the whole industry. And we're trying to do our part to do that. And then the last piece is the selfish piece here. We buy businesses. So we think that if we can continue to build trust with you over the years as you grow your business, one day when you're ready to sell, then you'll pick up the phone and give us a shot at doing that. Now, Deb did not do that, but we're hoping that you do when you decide to sell. So
I'll never hear the end of that, will I?
I think we're making a big
Every
assumption.
chance you get.
That's if people find you likable, Matthew. They're only going to call you if they find you likable. So now's your shot.
Maybe
you,
that
Spencer.
explains why Deb didn't call.
Thank you.
That may be it. All right.
Matthew,
so let's go.
You can't afford me.
Oh gosh.
Let's go ahead, Matthew. I'd like for you to introduce our guest today.
So I'm not going to read amazing. We would be here all day reading all of her stuff. But one of the things I love about Deb is the fact that number one, she's run a property management company. Number two, and it's really important for this, is that she's run a maintenance company. I think a lot of times people will get out there and tell you how to do things and not have done it. And so she's not speaking from a book, she's speaking from real world experience. And so as I was joking with her, she sold her property management and maintenance business. Her and her husband actually even built a maintenance software. So they deeply understand the maintenance business. And they're frankly a property management power couple. And Deb has gone on and obviously does some consulting. I'm sure some of her clients are on here now. And I have heard nothing but great things. All of our experiences with Deb have been amazing. And so we were really excited. In fact, Deb, this is how much we think about her. She spoke to our team recently about maintenance, all of our middle management team members, and just shared some best practices and some thoughts on maintenance. So we were really excited to have her to our team and really excited to have her here today. So Deb, welcome to our webinar. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks, guys. I love doing this. This is good.
Yeah, so we're excited and we'll kick it off. So just to let you all know that are here on the webinar, I've got a series of questions we're going to go through, but I want to encourage you, and I know you're not going to be shy, ask your questions in that question area, and we'll make sure we get to all of them that we can in our time limit. We really do have a pretty tight cutoff today, but let's go ahead and get right into it. Deb, when you spoke to our team, I was sitting there taking a bunch of notes and I was writing notes, and I was also thinking about questions to talk to you about. And one of the things that you were telling our team was just how important, how significant maintenance is to your property management business. So I want you to kind of unpack that a little bit. Why is if you have PMs listening and they don't have a maintenance division, why is it significant that they think about this, consider this? Go ahead.
Well, I think there's a lot of companies that don't have a maintenance division, and that's okay if you don't, but you need to have a maintenance solution. So at least you need to figure out what you're going to do, because maintenance, there's two parts of it. It's one, it will generate revenue. So that's, always a big piece that I like to talk about. But I think the second thing is it's part of the whole life cycle of property management. It touches every part of at any time during the life cycle, the property. So the moment that you onboard a property, during marketing and leasing, you may have leasing agents that are showing the properties. You may have to they notice things, so you might have to go back in and fix things up when a tenant moves in, all through tenancy, and then when they move out, and then you have the turnover. So you can't avoid it. It's a necessary evil in our business. So we might as well just like attack it head on.
Yeah, Matthew, anything you'd add?
Yeah, the thing I would add is it's really becoming a separator in our business, right? As people really start to focus on operations and there's not as many houses out there trading hands, then people are really more focused on optimization. And one of the biggest needle movers for all of us, for our clients, is improved maintenance. And so that's why we think the subject's so timely, and obviously why we had Deb on, who's a maintenance expert.
Yeah. Deb,
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go
No,
ahead.
I was just going to say it contributes to the financial health of the business, essentially, and because it impacts client satisfaction, retention. I mean, our fiduciary responsibility is to the client. They're not going to always know what rent ready is or what our expectations are. So it's our job to actually let them know what those things are, so that we can prepare the property that meets our standards, that we can get it rented out as quickly as possible. So it helps drive those conversations.
You know, Deb, you see a lot of property management companies in your consulting business. You're like getting into their operations, looking at their maintenance. So what kind of things do you see? Like, what are the pain points that you see when a property management company is doing a poor job with maintenance, or maybe they don't have a maintenance division, they don't have a maintenance solution figured out? What kind of pain points are you seeing?
I kind of feel like this is well, I mean, it almost seems like it might be a little obvious. If you don't address maintenance at all, you're probably going to get a lower quality tenant. And so, you'll attract lower quality tenants who may not care for the property very well. And therefore, it kind of leads to more wear and tear of the property. It can reduce the property value. So, neglecting even preventative maintenance or any sort of maintenance at all, it can result in that deterioration of the property, which negatively impacts, its value and its appeal. So it really affects, again, all aspects of the business, and especially, the longevity of what you're trying to establish. We're not trying to just get a property, rent it, and never see it again. We want to keep it, we want to keep that client for as long as possible. They may not, even if it's an accidental landlord and we bring them into our portfolio, they might stay an accidental landlord for 3 to 5 years because they're pleased with the recurring income that they have coming in, and there's no need for them to sell it. So we can actually change some of that mindset as well.
So Spence, when I was first getting in the business, I just came up with 3 pain points that I can remember. The first one is actually what drove me to hiring a full-time W-2 maintenance technician. And we're going to get into that. I see we have at least one question already about that, was control. And when I had a small property management business, you just can't control the vendors as much as maybe if you had a bigger property management business. And you'd actually be surprised, y'all. I mean, as many houses as we manage, we still can't control a lot of these vendors, right? They don't want you to be 100% of their business, because then if you, for some reason, if you go away, then their whole business goes away. So control was one of my biggest pain points when I first got started. The second one is, and this really, it kind of like rolls into the third one too. But when I was doing turns, I didn't know where to stop. When when you go in and you're doing a turn and you're kind of new to things, and you're like, I mean, should I do the carpet? Should I leave the carpet? Should I shampoo the carpet? Should I paint? And so, and this is an age-old question, right? Like where to stop for the house. And so that was another pain point, and having somebody with some experience when I didn't have the experience is really important. And then number 3 is just the mental reps. We experience this sometimes with our new property managers in town. Like when we hire new property managers, they just don't have the reps. They don't understand how maintenance gets done, and they don't understand what an HVAC should cost, or a fix, or if some vendor's taking advantage. And so they just don't have the mental reps. And so the longer you're in this business, the more mental reps you have of understanding where vendors cut corners, or where problems arise, or what an owner is going to say to a estimate or ask a question about it. And so those were my big pain points when I first got into the business.
I think that brings up
Well,
a
and
great.
actually that third one is really spot on, because that's what I hear a lot. People are like, I don't do maintenance because I don't know maintenance. I don't know what somebody's telling me. Is that what really needs to be done? And I've never, changed a flapper, or I've never, done any of these things. So it's actually that fear of making, not knowing. And then they don't want to feel like when they have to speak to the owner that they, again, don't know what they're talking about, because you don't want to hand that conversation over to your vendor. I always say, Terry, in our businesses are our vendors. We don't want to share that with our owners. And so when you have a third party vendor, which is fine to use, but if you give that relationship to your owner, you're taking away time that they could spend on your business with other properties. And the more they're stretched thin, the less that they'll, give attention to you.
Yeah, both of y'all, you both mentioned like having these conversations, and sometimes uncomfortable conversations with owners. Talk about how to best have those. Like, how do the people listening, how do they equip their PMs to have conversations, sometimes uncomfortable conversations with owners about estimates? It's not easy all the time.
Well, I think initially the conversation about maintenance, just to kind of go back, needs to start at the very beginning of the relationship. So when you're onboarding a client, you have to let them know that, guess what, maintenance is going to happen. And at some point, you're going to have work orders. At some point, you're going to have a turnover. And these are the average costs. You really need to know your numbers. Really, don't spitball it. Don't say, well, we're anywhere between, 200 and 500. I mean, you need to be like, our average work order is $257. And you can expect probably about 5 work orders throughout the year, you give or take. Now, the work orders are also, brought on by tenants, but not all work orders should be brought to the attention of the owner, not because of like maintenance reserve limits, but because they're nonsense. And so our job is to, as we have maintenance coordinators, or we have somebody internal on our team, we should be troubleshooting and really scrutinizing the work order. Is it a need? Is it a want? Is it, what status do I give it? Is it something that I really have to pay attention to? Is it a habitability issue? Because if it's not a habitability issue right away, I know it's probably nothing that needs to be done in the next 2 to 3 days. The doorknob can wait. And by the way, the doorknob was working when they moved in. So you have to really scrutinize the work order. And part of that is, as an owner, and if I have a rental property and I'm having a property management company come to me for every single thing, I'm going to start thinking, why isn't the tenant paying for this? Or wouldn't the tenant pay for this? So we also need to hold the tenant accountable. They're living there and they had stewardship right now over the home. So they need to, be accountable for things that may or may not happen. Some of it's normal wear and tear. I get it, but some of it may not be.
What kind of percentage do you think, Deb, did you push back on when of the work orders? 5%, 10%?
I pushed back on all. I mean, we would push back on all of them. We needed to. So part of it was because we wanted to understand the entire need of what they're asking. Send me pictures, describe what's going on, walk me through it for a couple of reasons. One, so we could understand, do we need to send somebody out there? And two, when I sent my guy out there, it's less billable hours. I mean, it's billable hours, yes, for him to be on site, but it's less time for him at that one property, so he could have more billable hours with other work orders.
Right. So
the more efficient that he can be while he's on site was most important to me. And it was part of our, we had inventory and we had vans and, we had a lot of supplies, but in the beginning, that wasn't really the case as we're building this. So, if you're going to go to Home Depot, we knew a couple of days of schedule in advance of what needed to be done. So those things would be stocked up in their trucks before they went out to the property. Now, extenuating circumstances happen, can of worms, you open something up and you realize, oh, wow, I didn't know it was going to be this big. Got to stop and go. That's different, but that was rare. And that's what we try to minimize is to maximize efficiency, know as much as we can. So pushing back doesn't mean I don't believe you or it doesn't need to be done. Pushing back is help me be prepared. So my guy goes there, does it, and leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing, I've just took some notes. The thing I would add to that is think like an owner. If you ask the question to the
Always.
vendor, the owner is probably going to ask you that question too. So be willing to have the guts to ask those hard questions to the vendors. Again, I think Deb mentioned it
If you
earlier.
can't ask if you can't ask the questions, Matthew, then you shouldn't. I mean, you're gonna,
That's right.
to your
That's right.
point,
You're looking out.
I mean, the owner is going to ask you. So if you can't even ask the vendor or anybody to get that information because, I don't know, you're embarrassed or they don't want to, I mean, you either need to find a different vendor or you need to be in a different industry, because there's conflict in all parts of property management. There's a lot of conflict in maintenance, but it doesn't have to be bad conflict. It can be healthy conflict. It's just, how do you manage that conflict?
So the second point I would make is Mark Creditor, who was in the industry for a long time out of Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He used to always say, make your worst call your first call. And so I would get these calls over with, especially as soon as you know something, like don't let those things hang around. You seem to, or I used to put those off way too long and not want to have those hard conversations with owners. And so highly suggest going ahead and pick up the phone once you're ready, but get prepared first, to Deb's point, and then make your worst call your first call. And then the last thing, and this is something that we're going to start, I think, experimenting with. So I don't know if it works or not, but it seems to me that it would, is start to talk in percentages. One of the things that maintenance owners incorrectly see it as very black and white, right? Like either the HVAC is fixed or it's not fixed. And we all know that there's a bunch of shades of gray. And yeah, you might repair the HVAC, but like, what are the expectations that it's going to last very long? And so if you tell an owner, we repaired the HVAC for $500 and it breaks down again in 90 days, they're going to get mad because in their mind, it was the black and white thing. It's fixed. And so what I used to do is talk in percentages. Hey, we can spend $500 now. It probably has a 25% chance of making the rest of the summer. And these percentages are made up, but you're probably pretty accurate based on your the mental reps that you've done this, over and over again. Or ask the vendor, what's the percentage chance? Get them to give you a number. Or we can replace this and the thing's going to last another 10 to 12 years. So thinking and talking percentages.
But I think this is part of like that onboarding discussion. Find out the age of the mechanicals, find out the age of certain things in the home, because you're going to build that into a budget with the owner to say, okay, based off of what you told me, I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to kind of prepare a budget for you of what you can expect. It'll be, an estimate. It's not going to be guaranteed, but just based off of experience, you're going to come back to them and you're going to say, here's how much I think you'll be spending this year in maintenance based off of what you've told me. If you don't have to spend it this year, you're going to roll that over and you're going to probably end up spending it next year. Because to Matthew's point, that AC is going to go out at some point if it's 25 years old.
I think, Matthew, you probably learned, like, you were in the fire fast, because I had a partner who actually had an office in your office, right? So he was just down the hall from you and you were managing our properties, and he was an attorney. So any kind of maintenance stuff that came up, he was walking down the hall and probably wearing you out, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was not a very wise idea, having your partner in the office with me. He was actually our broker at the time, so
double whammy.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mark Brower
Mark Brower asked a good question.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tackle that. So Mark, it is scalable. If you do it, it's probably not scalable for a company your size today, because you'd have to go back and do it all, but it can be done. It's just going to take you a long time, and you should do it at contract renewal. I think that's where I would start if you've never done it before. But when you're doing it at onboarding, it's completely scalable. And I think it's smart business to know exactly what you want to know. Does the owner agree with the fact that they're going to end up spending money on maintenance or other things? And that's a good time to test that relationship in the beginning while you're dating and while you didn't sign the marriage license yet. So maybe you want to get to know them a little bit to say, is this going to be a good fit for both parties? And do we meet each other's expectations?
And just a reminder, Mark, to put the questions in the question Q&A section, sir. That's a hand slap.
Wow.
Next
Poor
is a
Mark.
penalty. You get put in timeout. He had a follow-up. We sort of swag this. Okay, gotcha. Is that okay?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's okay if your numbers are right or almost you're close to it. But, and I think it also depends on a couple of factors: the age of the property, the type of the property, and, your market probably, right? So weather conditions. Mark happens to be in Arizona. So, in the summertime, yeah, it's probably going to get, when it was 120 degrees last year, we're going to see that impact more and more. So that's gonna have a huge impact on preventative maintenance and I call reactive maintenance.
I'm going to ask Mark a question. Why would you live somewhere that gets to 120 degrees? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I live in Arizona.
Oh, I realize that.
I know, because
I'm
it's
asking
nice.
both of y'all.
You went from one extreme to the
Warm.
other.
I did. See, y'all, I got smart. I left the cold and I came to the warm.
Mark
must like to run.
Okay.
All right.
Do you okay. So Jonathan asked, do you consider, I think he meant, do you consider your budget, Abe, your budget for maintenance plan is
in the property reserve?
What is he asking? Do you a budget for maintenance plan in the property reserve?
Is he asking, do you like consider each property and then create the reserve based on that property? Surely not.
Oh, that's good. Maybe that is what he's asking. So I would set you guys know your portfolio and again, know your numbers. So know on average how much you guys are spending per work order and set that and double that for your reserve. So if your average work order is $250, your reserve should probably be at least $500. I'm starting to see reserves go up. I'm encouraging clients to do $750 to $1,000. I am pushing for that because It is just, here's the thing. You might get a work order 1 month, or you might get 4 in a month. Just again, circumstances could warrant that. And even though the reserve is per work order, some of these work orders might be, to get an electrician, if you have to pull them out, an HVAC technician. They don't roll out of bed for less than $150. So you can already, there's half if you're at 250, you're already exceeded. You're going to have to call your owner pretty soon.
We were at 250. We were at 250 for a while and then bumped it up to 500. Is that where we are, Matthew, right now?
Yeah, we're at 500 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 500 is the new 250. So we need to start thinking.
Yeah, 750 at 1,000 is crazy.
Materials are expensive. Labor is expensive. The trades are the smart ones. We're all not, we're using AI and capturing like technology, and we're going to be phased out by robots. We can't replace them. They're the ones who are going to make a lot of money in the future.
They're definitely going to be
maintenance is king. That's my new tagline. Maintenance is king.
All right, we got a few follow-up questions. I'm going to answer or talk about them right out of the chat channel. If you have a maintenance tech on staff, how do you evaluate their? Oh, well, Paul, we're going to get to maintenance tech. Sorry about that. And just a reminder, everybody, just to throw the questions into the Q&A section. There's just a bunch of them loading up there, and it helps us manage them a lot better, and we don't miss them in the chat channel.
I think this is one we get a lot. Tim asked, what is a good rule of thumb for how many work orders a day you should be receiving before you have a full-time in-house maintenance tech?
Okay, so I say this all the time, and a lot of people on here have heard me say it before. 4 to 5 work orders a day is good for one technician, because that's about 6 to 8 hours of work time. And that includes drive time. So I know it doesn't sound like a lot because you're like 4 to 5 work orders. I can, but add in drive time and a lunch because they got to eat. That's a full day. But if that's consistent, that's not just like seasonal, because you can staff up for seasonal as needed. But if you're consistent with 4 to 5 work orders dispatched a day, not coming in, because you want to make sure those are dispatched, then that's enough for one full-time tech. And I've seen companies who have 200 doors get that, get 30 work orders in a month or in a week. And I've seen, companies much larger who don't yet get there. And a lot has to do with, again, the market and the type of property and things like that. So.
Yeah, I was about to say the market, if you're in a market like Nashville, the work orders are way different than Birmingham, right? So we're in an investor heavy market. So we're getting a lot of work orders, older housing stock in Nashville. We manage a lot of houses in Brentwood and Franklin. They're newer housing stock, just not as many work orders. So you have to know your market. Then you got to think about a place like Atlanta, right? So your drive time is insane if you're managing in different places in Atlanta. So you've got to consider all of that. But you want to get to what how many hours do you want to bill every single week?
Well, what does Matthew try to bill every single week?
Yeah. So the way we always tell our techs to work 40 and bill 38. And that's kind of our goal. Now, we don't hit that regularly. We have a lot of guys that do, and then we will also pay them a bonus. So we bonus them based on hitting those hours. And
I will say that's a really lofty, billing 38 out of 40 hours.
Hey, we don't mess around, Deb, around at Evernest.
You don't, because if you can do that consistently, kudos
our guys
to you.
do.
That is hard.
They're fantastic.
But are they working 8 hours or 10 hours a day?
What's that?
How many hours a day are they working?
Well, they're working 8 hours a day and billing 7.5 of those.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't mess around. We hire the best here at Evernest.
Speaking of that, Matthew and Deb, speaking of that, how do you find and hire great techs?
Oh, I have some tips and tricks for that. Matthew, what's your answer first?
Yeah, we're thinking a lot about this because frankly, it's one of the hardest things to do. If you think about what we are asking them to do, we are asking them, if you think about what a normal maintenance tech would for like an apartment community, they're basically fixing the same toilet, fixing the same air conditioner, fixing the same thing over and over again. So it takes a lower skill set person to do that. What we're asking folks to do, and we just for clarity, we manage mostly single family homes. So when the tech shows up, he doesn't know what toilet or what HVAC he's going to find and needs to be able to fix a wide variety of those. So much more high skilled labor. So we're thinking a lot about this question. How do we keep really good people? Obviously, you've got to pay them at or above market rate. They're very sensitive to their hourly rate. And so we think a lot about that. And then we've started making Evernest as good of a place to work as possible. We're giving our maintenance techs trucks to drive around in. We are doing full benefits for a single person with our maintenance technicians. And we are even guaranteeing some of them 40 hours. So in an instance, like Deb was talking about, like if we don't have enough work orders, that's our problem, not theirs. And so we're going to pay them for 40 hours. And we, there's some other things that we're doing, but we're just trying to make it like a really good place for people to work.
What about pay period, Matthew?
That's right. So we used to pay every 2 weeks, and we've actually increased the cadence to weekly.
Okay, those are good. Those are good ones. I think I'm going to answer this in a different direction. So a good place to find good techs is local hardware stores, your Home Depots. That's where I found some of mine. Hang out if you get there at 7 a.m, they're all there getting supplies. Find the best ones and pay them more than your competitor. It's a lot of it's just about what, it comes down to pay for them. The work is the same pretty much wherever they're at. So you need to pay them well. Going kind of back to what Matthew's saying, treat them well, pay them well. That's a huge factor into it. Find out what they want. We also had vans for our techs. That's not ideal for everybody. I understand that, but find out what the pain point is for them. A pain point for me, I can tell you, is I hated the fact that in the beginning when I didn't have vans, I had one guy who was with me for almost 20 years. His truck kept breaking down, and it was always shocking to me how every month Sean had something else was breaking on his truck, and it was frustrating because if that's not working, then he's not working. So pretty quickly I figured out we're going to solve this, and you don't use your truck anymore. And so that's how I solved it. And of course, I built all of those costs into my full cost of what it costs me to have an in-house technician. So if I'm paying them, let's just say 25 an hour, which is low, but if I'm paying them $25 an hour, I've got insurance, I've got overhead, I've got all of my costs with van and gas and everything, and even maintenance to the van, because I was really big on that, making sure that that was all updated. I might be at $35, $36, $37 an hour. So what is your all-in cost? Make sure that when you're calculating things in your margin, that's what you're calculating off of, not how much you're paying your hourly rate. In fact, just always assume now your hourly rate for your guy is your all-in cost, and that will help you run the numbers better.
So we have some questions here, some clarifying questions. One person says, how can anyone possibly work 40 hours and bill 38? That's
Whoever
what we asked
said that,
them to
thank
do.
you. Who was that?
The
Anonymous.
it appears that same person
Anonymous.
asked,
Oh, they didn't even want to be. Yeah, I agree with anonymous.
Essentially, how can you bill for drive time? That's padding. I don't consider it padding. I mean, obviously, it takes gas and
No.
insurance and wear and tear on trucks and that person's time. So I don't think I wouldn't think of it as padding.
I've never thought of it as padding, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know where I'm not adding extra. I mean, it's just drive time. They've got to get from one place to another, and that's just included. I mean, here's the thing. If I go hire, I mean, it depends on who you hire, but there are some technicians that will say, our clock will start when we set out our guys to go there or something.
They're still
I don't know. I don't call
out.
it padding. I think it's
I mean, they're still paying for gas and they're still paying for people's time to drive there. So you're still paying for that. It necessarily either their hourly rate's going to be higher than ours, or you're going to get charged for the drive time. So
true.
So Mark,
and by the way, trying to manage that outside, like if you don't include drive time and then all of a sudden you're just trying to, there's two metrics you do want to understand. I do want to know how long it takes my guys at a property. So when they're at a property, they have to they'll punch in, they'll punch out. That's just for internal data for me to understand how long does it really take based off of certain jobs. And that's just, as we get better and better and better at this, we can really fine tune, who is, qualifications of our techs, utilization time, things like that. So that's really important. And then building into the drive time, just like you said, Matthew, is, we're kind of the one-stop shop. You want to go with us because we're going to go in, get it done, and be done. But I did flat rate pricing with, I had a flat rate price, and then I went to an hourly up to 4 hours. And then after that, it was a project. So we tried to make it as the easy button.
Mark actually asked that question. Yeah. The way we think about it is there's for us to show up price, and that covers the first hour and a half. I forget which one. And then we charge hourly thereafter. So
yeah, we did the first hour and a half. So the first 90 minutes was a flat rate because I knew I had done we'd done the analysis. It was on site for 45 minutes was the max that my guys would take. So we knew that if they were there, they were still getting it done under an hour, but then I build in drive time. So it was just a flat rate. It was an easy button for owners. Then if it went to the next hour, it was billed at that hourly rate up to 4 hours. If I have to have somebody at a property for 4 hours, we've got a bigger project. Oh, look, yay. We got a bigger project, and in, all fairness to the owner, to make it easy, we're going to turn that into a bid and just say, here's how much it's going to cost. And the time used was on us. So laws of average, we obviously try to be as efficient as possible, but we also wanted to be fair.
One question I have is how should somebody think about the hourly rate they charge for a technician?
What do you mean? How do you think? How?
So one of the things I think most people do is undercharge for their technicians, and they.
Oh, you mean to the owner how much the hourly rate should be?
They basically break even or even lose money, and they can't figure out why everybody else is making money doing it. And so I'd be curious how somebody
Well,
should think about
shop
that.
your market. I mean, if I were to go call 1-800 handyman, how much are they going to charge me per hour to come do something? So that and others are your baseline. So if you want to be less than them, which I, am all for that, then figure out what that average is. And it might be, 85, 95 an hour. So maybe come in at 75 and let your owners know that's part of your narrative. Hey, listen, we're that one-stop shop. We're going to get it done. You're still making a margin. It's just not going to be as big if you're at 75 and your all-in cost is like 45. But it's still a built-in margin.
The thing I've always heard, and I used to have a CPA as a partner, and he worked with a lot of maintenance type companies, and what he would say is whatever that person's hourly rate is, like if your maintenance technician is essentially charging you $25 an hour, then you need to triple that number to charge to the client, because generally it's like 25 to the technician, 25 for truck, gas, insurance, like all the different things that go along with it, and then there's 25 for profit. And so
That's a good ratio. I like that.
yeah, and I've heard that a number of times. I've seen people repeat that. It's just a quick rule of thumb just to make sure that you're charging enough. And one of the things that I've found is owners will complain about maintenance prices. They're not, but they're just frustrated. And honestly, most of them don't know what things cost. And so what I found is that they're going to complain anyways. And so I would make sure that you're making money in them complaining, because the last thing you want to be doing is breaking even and having to deal with them complain about maintenance prices being too high. So that's just a little advice.
And I would say if you're out there and you need to raise prices, one of the things I remember we were introducing a price increase. I can't remember if it was for property management, like fees, or if it was maintenance. But one of the things I did, I went online and I just found some huge corporate, it may have been like AT&T or whatever, one of their announcements of price increases. And I just learned how they did it, how they framed it. And then I rewrote it in our language to frame it to our clients. And it actually went over really, really well. I was pretty surprised, as opposed to just saying, hey, we're raising prices. You definitely want to frame.
Yeah, I guess
the way
everybody
they're
could just
thinking
take
about
the
it.
recent announcement from Matt Folio and copy that one and then use that for their owners.
I'd have to
All
read
right.
it first.
Question, and this is from Brad. He wanted to know, and I answered some of this, like how we're thinking about hiring them, but what are some great ways to retain maintenance techs, Deb?
Well, we touched a little bit on that. So, again, it's taking care of them. Here's what I did. Ask them. Just ask them, what do you need? I want you to stay here. I value you. I need you. What is it going to make, what do you need? I love the fact that Matthew and Spencer mentioned that they pay every week, because that's what we did as well. I will tell you another pain point that I learned really quick with my maintenance techs is they're terrible bookkeepers. Like, they were living literally paycheck to paycheck, and it was a struggle to get them in. So what do I need to do to solve that? Pay you every week? Done. I mean, things like that, just make it as easy as possible, because you need them. And so find out what they want, and that helps start the conversation. And again, it's a conversation. It's not, we can do this for sure, but they have to also understand where you're coming from, because they're getting work orders. So they think you're making a lot of money. We have to be a little bit transparent to say, hey, yes, we have some built-in margin, but we've got a lot of overhead as well. So that's the challenge of running a company. Otherwise, they would be on their own trying to do this, and they can't.
I've heard Matthew say that for our maintenance techs, one of the things that he did early on was just like they're out by themselves all the time, riding around in their truck, working in a house by themselves. What can you do to make them feel a part of the company? So we have level 10 meetings where we're meeting with them. I know that our property manager here in Birmingham is feeding them breakfast, like just trying to get to know them, get to know their families, get them bought into the culture. I think if you've got a really good culture, then anything like that will be helpful.
Yeah, my experience
because
has been,
keep in mind, if you're taking them from somebody's looking at your good techs and trying to take them from you.
You're darn right. And some of my techs have been some of my most loyal team members over the years. What I found is you can find your way to their heart through their bellies. So definitely feed them. And I jokingly say this to the team that maintenance techs are people too. If you treat them transactionally, and I think because they're not in the office, it's like, go here, do this, go here, do that. And you don't treat them like a person and like you would in the office. You're always asking people in the office, hey, how's your sister? How's your, mom, whatever. You just don't think about them, and because they're not in front of you, and you think about that when you see somebody, but you've got to be very intentional because they are driving around all day. It's a very lonely job, and they're telling themselves a story, and you don't want them to tell themselves a story that's not true about you. And so when you continue to close that gap and put a bow on it, I mean, I've got maintenance techs that I'm still friends with, and they don't even work with us anymore. And we'll text. And if I have a maintenance problem, I had one that was a technician that left us about 2 or 3 years ago. I had a water heater issue on like a Saturday night, and he basically got on the phone with me and told me what to do. So you can build huge relationships with these folks and make them feel a part of the team, and they will bend over backwards because there's not a lot of places that'll do that for them. All right, got a
I had
question.
a
Go ahead,
client.
Deb.
Oh, go ahead. I was
Oh,
gonna
I
say
was
I had a
gonna
client
pivot.
that every Friday would have for the entire staff, including maintenance, would have like kind of like a buffet. Like it was just lunch. And so they encouraged their maintenance techs to come in, have lunch as part of their day. But again, that brings them into the office. It gets them kind of this collaboration, this team effort. But I mean, what is the cost for doing something like that? It's nominal in the grand scheme of good employees.
Yeah, like a maintenance technician for us is worth about $5,000 in gross profit a month. And, buying them breakfast is way cheaper than watching that walk out the door, even for one day.
I
Aaron would
like
like to
that.
know, do you discount your billing rate based on the number of units an owner has? We have some multifamily owners who balk at repair costs. So
Where is
while
this
you're
one?
thinking about that,
Who?
I'll tell you,
I
Aaron.
want to read it.
It's Aaron
Yeah,
Nelson.
Aaron Nelson there. It's
Okay,
like a green
thanks.
one. Aaron, we do this mostly for institutional owners and large multifamily owners. So we absolutely will do that. Now, we will not discount it to the point where we're not making money. I think I shared that with you that most of our gross margin on our labor is about 30-ish%. And, we're not going to cut that down to zero. So, yes, we do it, but it's not going to be zero.
Well, Aaron, it's funny because Aaron asked a couple questions. I saw his other one that was kind of piggybacking off of that. I haven't really seen people discount it to, I mean, yes, you'll have multifamily rates and probably single family rates, but that's about it. When people ask me, do I discount my services based off of how many like units somebody's bringing in? I think you need to know what your, kind of to Matthew's point, what's your bottom line that you'll even consider? Because if they're negotiating up front, all of that, they're going to also negotiate throughout the contract. So keep that in mind as well. So be pretty firm to say, hey, listen, this is our pricing. But you hit 10 plus properties, it's this, but don't waffle from that at all, because they'll see it, and it's like, they'll come back and they'll keep asking for discounts and and favors and things like that, and it adds up into time, which adds up into money.
So we're going to keep talking about maintenance technicians, especially in-house maintenance techs. We're also going to hit maintenance software. There's a bunch of questions about that. So we'll hit that in a second, everybody. And then the third question is how to train ITM, RTM, VA team members on maintenance. So we're going to keep with the whole maintenance technician, but if you want to get some questions in around those, then please do. I saw a good one about KPIs. Paul Rush asked, if you have maintenance techs on staff, how do you evaluate their performance? Do you have KPIs for them? I actually do.
So I would, I know you do, Matthew, but are yours billable hours? Is that how you're tracking billable hours, aren't you?
I'm
Is
actually about to I'm about to throw this up, and that you feel free to write this down, everybody, because this is exactly what we tell our team. we call it our top 5. And so I like to make everything as simple as possible. And these are the 5 things that we always repeat to our maintenance technicians so that they know how to have a successful day. So the first one, y'all have seen that, is work 40, bill 38. The second one is drive safe and be safe. Let me tell you where this came. We had a bunch of maintenance technicians that didn't know how to drive and were wrecking cars all over the place. One year, my insurance on my cars, and this was before, before we were our size, this was like 5 or 6 years ago, went from 60 grand a year to like 120 or 150 grand. And you can just imagine the sick feeling, but we've figured it out. We're driving safely now because we had so many wrecks. The third thing is communicate. And this is really important, as you know, knowing what's happening out there. Don't let me find out about a problem too late. Go ahead and be communicating with me when you're out there and there's an issue. So make sure that you do a great job of communicating. Number 4 is photos and notes on every work order. We really feel like one of their jobs is to do, and this really falls under communicate, is to do a great job of communicating to the owner through the work order. So, pictures worth 1,000 words. We've heard that a billion times, but making sure they take a ton of photos of it and then giving a more narrative, like feel on the work order. So let me, if I went to a house and an owner, I was a plumber and an owner was taking a cold shower, and I was at the house with the owner, right? The owner's taking a cold shower, not a rental house yet. I could just put water heater, $1,500 or whatever it is, and give the owner the invoice because they felt the pain of the cold shower. My point to our maintenance technicians is our owners are not feeling the pain of the cold shower. So we would prefer you to talk about how you diagnosed what you found with the water heater, where you went to get the water heater, what you had to do to replace the hot water heater. It's spending $1,500 and with a paragraph feels way better than replace water heater. So make sure that you're putting narratives in your work orders. And then the last thing is make sure that you're accounting for all materials. There was a time in Evernest history where we lost money for every dollar we would spend on materials, we would only get 80 cents back. And so we want to make sure that people are inputting their materials. So that's how we grade our, if Paul, if you want to know, that's how we grade our technicians.
Well, I would add billable hours is one. So, you're definitely, that's going to be important to track as a KPI. What you don't want happening is somebody goes out and does a work order. He does it. He completes it. He's closed out. And the tenant is like, it wasn't done, or it's still broken. So he has to go back out there. So how, he's obviously, who's going to pay for that at this point? So that's a really good KPI is, don't pay for double, on billable hours, but, because that's going to be a cost that the company eats, because I can't go back to the owner for that either.
All right, let's get to the next question. I saw Aaron Nelson would like to know, what unit count are you seeing where you can have a full-time specialty trade, such as a plumber, on staff? So the way we think about this is, and it sounds like you're kind of like a step 2, but just so everybody knows, we operate in a lot of secondary and tertiary markets. These numbers probably don't make sense in places like Atlanta or Charlotte or Dallas or Houston, right? Because the MSAs are so big. It may make sense if you pare down those MSAs and you're just managing in one piece of that market. And so the way we think about it is, we want to start hiring generalists at about 250 homes to 300 homes. And then we want to hire a second generalist at about 400 to 500 homes. And again, a lot of this depends on vintage of the house. A lot of it depends on how many work orders are coming in, but this is kind of how we think about it. Then the next one we hire is a plumber. And we hire a plumber at about 500 homes. We think that generally speaking, there's enough plumbing work orders, which is our number one work order, by the way. There's enough plumbing work orders at that point to have a licensed plumber handling those. And then at about 800 homes is when we'll hire a licensed HVAC tech. Deb, did I miss anything?
No, those were actually, I really like that you gave those those numbers and those, those metrics. I also think keep in mind that when you hire trades, your insurance will go up and you have to have different insurance. And so that's an expense you will be incurring. And you want to measure all of that. So again, you might have the home count and might see the work orders coming in, but you can't do it at the lowest rate possible. The margins are going to be different. So we would have, obviously you're going to have an average margin. So if it's 30%, you're going to have some margins where they might only be 20% maybe for HVAC because the cost is going to be higher. So you kind of have to plan for all of that as well.
All right, I saw a great one. Chris would like to know, how do you handle adding your first maintenance tech and handle the added work of scheduling, overseeing, and maximizing their efficiency? Or is it fairly straightforward since you would have to build up systems scheduling the outside vendors already? Deb, how would you handle that?
So, like, how do you just handling your first one? I don't
Yeah,
know if
like,
I
is there a
understand.
bunch of extra work when you handle your first maintenance tech? Like, you don't really have the system set up, or do you just treat your internal tech, your first one, like a third party vendor, since you do have that
I
system set
kind of
up?
just treat them like a third party vendor, is how I did it. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be ebbs and flows to the business because when you hire your first one, you're also still trying to figure stuff out internally as well and how they fit in. When we first started, we had some downtime. I mean, that was the opportunity to kind of build in these other revenue opportunities. Okay, guess what? It's the third week of the month. Now we're going to look at all periodic inspections. Every month we would have to do them. And I would send out, it made more sense and to send out my maintenance tech because they could get a lot more of those done than sending out my property manager at that point. So we're using the same tools, we're using the same kind of software. They can use the apps. It just kind of goes really in and out. And plus, guess what? They could find preventative maintenance issues and create a work order. So my goal was, if you're going to go out and do an inspection, which I'm already charging for, then I hope you can find, some other work so we can make a work order so we can also generate some revenue from there. Because guaranteed, you're going to go out and do a periodic. There's going to be things that we find. The best person to see that is your tech. So when you have some downtime, it's a good way to utilize their services.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like when you bring in a new tech, this to me was very easy. I'm with you. It was kind of nerve-wracking to bring somebody in, but you kind of figure out the system and process. There's while you can also use your third party vendor, they also have access to Appfolio and can manage within Appfolio. And then we used to use something as easy as a Google Sheet to input time and what they did. So it doesn't have to be rocket science. I think that's
No, and you said it in the beginning too. It's all about control. This is why, this is why I kind of jumped on the maintenance bandwagon as soon as possible, because I needed to control what was happening at the properties when they were going to be out there. I mean, when I wanted somebody out there, I wanted somebody out there. I didn't want to wait on somebody else's calendar.
All right. I think that's a great pivot in the interest of time. Let's get into maintenance software. So I would love, and we'll come back around to some of these questions, but Deb,
Did you see I answered that? Did you see I answered that one?
Yeah, I saw you were answering it. I was gonna slap your hand if I could virtually, but I would love you to tell the rest of the crew here about
Oh no,
maintenance
I'm
software.
trying to find. I know. Where's my answer? Does it not show up when I do it?
I think it probably did, but we're gonna talk about it
Okay, we're
because
going to
this
talk
is
about it.
also an
All right.
audio program.
Yes, it is. All right. So I did list out several. There's Property Meld, House Call Pro, Field Edge, Maintenex, Jobber, Service Fusion, Service Titan, Clear Estimates. Those are a bunch that I've had all my clients.
What do you use?
Well, I don't today. Nothing.
What did you? What did you?
What did I use?
Or what do you suggest when you're in your consulting gigs people use?
Whatever works for them and their technician. Here's the thing. This all costs money as well. So keep that in mind. In the beginning, it was a fancy Excel spreadsheet for me. And I mean, really fancy with a lot of, information in each cell that I could drop down, you know, choose from. I knew that if I went out to a property, that if it was 3-bedroom, 2 houses, I could scope the whole house, get an estimate, put it into Excel, and it would literally do the math for me because I had calculated all of my standardized pricing. So just so you know, what was key for me and what is like, this is like the golden ticket is standardized pricing, if you can get there. And so starting to do that little by little will really change the way that you do turnovers, work orders, especially turnovers. It will go so much quicker. And a lot of that is built through time, and it takes a lot of time, but you can build it through, you know, third-party techs, getting their price sheets, kind of learning from them how long things take, how much they're charging, what all of that stuff is. So that's how we did it. So in the beginning, it was just a really fancy Excel spreadsheet, which then obviously led us to build our own maintenance software. But, you know, even from that, what I have a lot of clients use is Property Meld. Now, the only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't do the billing, but if it integrates with your software, that's all solved for you within AppFolio or Propertyware or, you know, Buildium and RentVine and things like that. So that can be solved there. Again, depending on the type of the business, though, you might want something like a House Call Pro, which if you're doing work, so we did work for not just our company. And this is where, oh, look, see, celebration.
Perfect
Woo-hoo!
timing.
I don't even know how I did that.
Those fireworks.
That was awesome, right? No, but we would do it for other outside clients. A lot of realtors who were, you know, had closings that needed, you know, some work done right before a closing. I was in that network, and that's where a lot of our business came in. So sometimes you have to choose outside software as well. What were you going to say, Matthew?
So we built a maintenance business on 3 softwares, actually 4 softwares that almost, and it was we got it to about $15+ million maintenance business. Property Meld, Google Sheets, AppFolio, and a timekeeping app. Which name escapes me right now. Time Tracker. It was like a cheap time tracker app.
That's an oldie but a goodie. That's been around for years.
We built a $15 million maintenance business off of those 4 softwares. Now we have since written our own software, and as you scale, you can imagine, you know, using those 4 softwares, it gets harder and harder to teach techs as you add them. But if you're sitting really close to the techs and you can help them with some of the technology, we built a really big business off just those 4 softwares, and we're huge fans of Property Meld, because let me explain one thing about how important communication is in the whole workflow. One of the things so we're Spencer and I this whole week have been really hot because the air's been out here at global corporate headquarters, and we put in a work order on Monday to get the air fixed, and we hadn't heard until we never heard back from the property manager. And today we saw somebody fixing it, and thank God the air's blowing again. But I guess the point being is that is so frustrating, because I don't mind that it takes 3 or 4 days as long as I'm being communicated with. Right. And that was one of the things that Property Meld solved for us, is that communication, making sure that we're keeping the resident informed and giving them some control over when to schedule the appointment.
100%. I agree with that. Communication is key.
Let's talk about ITMs or RTMs or VAs. Everybody's got their own flavor name for this, but I would love to know how and where you see ITM, RTM, VAs fitting into this ecosystem, Deb, on the maintenance tech side, and then I'll be happy to tell y'all where they fit in for Evernice.
Yeah, so I mean, RTMs are great for maintenance coordinators. I don't need somebody out. I don't need a person physically in my office to be a maintenance coordinator. They can be anywhere, because they're not leaving the office, right? Whether it's remote or local. They're I just need them with a good computer, good communication, and they can schedule, and the techs, they can troubleshoot. So there's 3 main responsibilities for your maintenance tech or your coordinator. They are troubleshooting the work order. they're dispatching and assigning it to the technician, and then they're following up. And all of those things can be done remotely. And if that's their sole job and they can do that efficiently, you can get a lot of work out of them. And so it's also, price, there's price conscious is in there as well. You don't have to pay payroll taxes. It's a flat rate. It makes it a lot easier. And you can get a lot more bang for your buck.
That's time for you to step in, Spencer.
What are you
I'm just
talking
kidding.
about?
I'm just kidding.
Well, you said you
He's
were
like,
going to let her talk,
like,
and then
oh
you,
yeah,
then you had then you were going to say something.
That I did say that, didn't I? All right. So
You have a lot of RTMs. So
we have a lot.
why,
We talked about it at the
right?
beginning. And
Yeah.
this is one of the more difficult jobs that they do.
Yep.
Super impressed
This
with
is
our
the
team.
hardest job.
It is so hard. It is a thankless job, as many people know. We have a lady named Paloma that has done she's like one of our original team members, and she's continued to move herself up throughout the organization, and she's just like running a whole piece of the organization now on the maintenance side. But point being, maintenance coordinators, and now we're dividing them into repairs and maintenance and renovation or turns. And so
which is what we did as well.
We're starting to continue to grow that part of the business and grow those folks. And starting to give them we empowered them recently with some technology that we built. It's probably been 6 or 8 months ago that we fully implemented it, and they've just continued to provide a high return. But maintenance coordinators is a perfect place for ITMs. And we also think about it as, because it's such a hard job, that's kind of like where a lot of team members can grow to once they really fully understand the business. All right, let's do rapid fire. I'm going to start at the top, and we're just going to roll through. Y'all, we have 27 questions.
And we got 20 minutes.
You have to. So
let's do it.
So we have
Go.
Here's the rules. You can't spend more than 30 seconds answering a question. All right, question. How do you train a VA to know all the things you talked about? Do y'all develop detailed manual for VAs? How do you, as a VA, know if a price is right for the job?
10 seconds, go.
My experience has been VAs are no
go.
different than team members over here, and they can learn it just like anybody over in the US. And so I would just have really high expectations on what you can get from your remote team member.
Utilize an app called Hubstaff or Time Talker to help monitor productivity as well.
We've got a funny story there. There's a story. Do we want to take a break from the rapid fire to tell the story that we
actually, you know what? This is probably a very relatable story. So you can go ahead. Why don't you tell the story?
Well, it's never good when Deb texts you in the middle of the day. There's a fire burning somewhere in your organization, and Deb texted me. I was actually working out when you texted me, and and Deb was like, "Hey, I think I have a consulting client that has one of your team members that's also basically one of our team members had both worked for the same. They're working at the same time for us and for them, collecting 2 paychecks during the same 40 hours. So definitely use, if you go through like an Upwork or we use Hubstaff as well. And that's where this person got caught, is Hubstaff. It was actually your client's Hubstaff took a picture of this person on one of our huddles. And so you sent me a screenshot of some of our team members in a huddle. So pretty funny. But make sure, look, Charlie Munger's very clear about this. You don't want to incentivize cheating. And if you leave it open to cheating, even good people might be swayed to do that. And one of what he called one of the best admissions ever was the cash register, because it basically kept people from cheating. You were kind of forced to account for all the dollars. All right, we wasted a lot of time on
Keep
that
going.
first question.
I know.
All right, budgeting. Chris would like to know, for budgeting for single family properties, would you present 2 scenarios? One if they renew, and one if they leave and need to release. With MF, you can aggregate costs like lease up, renewal vacancy, turnover costs, etc. But for single family, it's either did they renew and the owner doesn't incur those costs, or they didn't renew and now they're going to incur those costs.
I wouldn't do two different budgets. I mean, I don't know if I do two scenarios. I think you have variables throughout this, and you can definitely, I mean, you actually have the same thing in multifamily. Multifamily, they can renew or move out as well. I mean, the cost might be a little bit different because you're in a multifamily situation, so a lot of things are more standardized, but I don't know if I would do two scenarios. Matthew?
Yeah, Chris, you take your basic renewal rate. I don't know, SFR generally is 3 years, and then just apply that formula to it. And yeah, some people are going to get them moving out in a year, and that's just unfortunate. But I mean, only thing you can do is tell the law of averages and basically equip them and set expectations. Jose would like to know, what is the process to price out larger jobs?
Again, this is where standardized pricing comes into play. So I think you need to develop, you can start standardizing some of the big things like carpeting, wall, painting, and start bucketing these into some pricing, like by area or by square footage, whatever works best. That will help. Matthew?
My advice here is to be a price maker, not a price taker. A lot of times you send a contractor out there and you get a great price. You send the contractor out there, you get a great price. And then 6 months later, the prices have magically gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And that'll frustrate a lot of owners. And so you want to be the price maker there. And so we have Evernest people doing the budgets for these houses. And we think that that's the right way to do it. And it's a much more owner friendly way to do it. At 4/5 per day, what is the average dollar work
At 4 to
order?
5, no, he's saying at 4 to 5 work orders per day.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, why don't you answer the question then?
At 4 to 5 work orders per day, what is the average cost per work order? So that's going to be dependent on your company. Every company is going to be different. I could tell you Profit Coach came out with some numbers, and I think their number was, don't quote me, I could be wrong. It's either 277 or 377. I think Property Meld and Profit Coach got together and came up with some of those numbers. That's, again, industry average. Do you have a daily goal assigned per tech, like say 1,000 per door or per day? Yes, that I know Matthew does. So Matthew,
That's pretty close.
Say to that?
That's that, we use that on the reno side too, right? Like doing $1,000.
That's exactly, that's the number I use for the renovation. It's exactly what I do, is 1,000 per day per labor and material.
We think more in terms, Michael, of utilization than we think in terms of gross dollars. So I know if my price to the client is correct, then I just need to make that tech as efficient as possible. That's why we talk to them about work 40, bill 38, because if they're billing 38 of their hours, then I know that I'm making money.
All right, let's move on. I think we've already hit this.
So, Jose, almost all companies I see use RTMs as maintenance coordinators. And if they're unfamiliar, then it's our job to train them to be familiar. It's the same as if I hired somebody in the office and they didn't know what they were doing either. It doesn't matter where they're from. Starting out maintenance and trying to create a hybrid role as an entry-level maintenance technician, assistant, property manager.
Yes.
I will say this, I don't see it often where it works, meaning I have a technician who's also doing internal, like who's trying to also be the maintenance coordinator, or in your case, an assistant property manager. It doesn't, usually those who are technicians are not great at office stuff. It's one or the other.
I would actually reverse your thinking there, Craig. I would actually go pay for somebody better that can do that. Your goal is that he can bill himself out enough to break even. And then he also handles some other things. What I have found is that technicians that are, dare say older, they don't want to be like physically doing work 40 hours a week. They're kind of like fine doing it 30 or 20 and doing things like putting signs in yards and taking pictures and hanging lot boxes. They enjoy that type of stuff just because as they start to slow down, just a
It
great
breaks up
way.
the monotony too.
And you can trust them because they've seen a lot of things. They have a lot of reps out there. So I would actually twist it. I wouldn't look for a low paid person. I would look for somebody a little more expensive. And I think you're going to be excited about what you get there.
All right, let's keep going.
Pain point for techs
I
is
don't think that was
working
a
after hours. Yeah, that's one of
I
the
don't think that's
benefits
a
of
question.
working with
Okay.
us. Well, if you work with us, you don't work nights and weekends. We use third-party vendors for that.
Does going in after your text leave a work order to does going in after your text leave
Like
a work
following up
order
after they,
to verify?
yeah, to verify
Oh,
they
like
did it
somebody doing QC.
Yeah.
right.
I think again, it depends on the size of the organization. You may already have like a leasing agent or a property manager going out doing showings. So that might be the quality control that you need. If you're, if you have a big organization and you're doing a lot of renovations, you'll probably have a project manager that goes in and does. I do say this, maintenance is maintenance, and the technicians are out there just to complete a maintenance work order. They're not into the details. They're probably not going to have it like Swiffer clean. So somebody is going to have to go in afterwards and just make sure it's rent ready.
Property meld for when houses are occupied and the technician is going in has a follow-up CSAT, meaning customer satisfaction score. So you can you can let the resident do this for you in a lot of cases.
Drive time versus trip time. I don't know if it's one is better than the other, but I will say this, even though we included our drive time, we would, because we were in the Twin Cities, it would take us longer certain distances, we would add an additional trip charge to it.
All right. What's a utilization? I'm just going to do 38 divided by 40, 95%. That's my goal.
That's your goal. And what is a good average utilization, I would say?
Yeah, I actually
probably not
think
95.
Well, yeah, to be fair, it probably sits somewhere between 90 and 95.
Okay.
All right.
If you
all handle
don't set
subs?
expectations high, though, then people are never going to reach it. So I would set expectations high and then reward your team for doing that, right? Each incremental hour that they work on 40-hour week and bill out is worth more gross dollars to me because a lot of fixes or a lot of expenses are fixed. So each incremental hour up to 40 is more profitable.
So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one with Thomas, because this is actually one of my favorite questions to answer. So how do you handle subs? I think a couple of things you have to consider. First, it's also state specific. So some states require you to be a GC and some states don't. If you're going to manage subs and then mark up or have a margin built into that, a lot of states will require you to be a general contractor to do that. If you're not required to do that, then that's fine. But one of the things I always say is don't share your invoices at all with the owner. The invoices that are coming from a third-party sub are coming to you as a company. So ABC, if it's coming to Evernest, I would tell Matthew, don't, again, that's proprietary information, is your vendors. I don't want to share that with the owner. Secondly, the vendor is billing me, so I'm the one that's actually, paying them, and I don't want the owner to know any of that. But if I can, I am going to mark that up. So do I get a kickback? Yes, I have an agreement. If I have a third-party vendor, I have a vendor discount that I'm working with them because they get all of my business for that particular trade, whether it be plumbing or HVAC or electrical, whatever that is. I'm going to have an agreement with them. My contract says I may or may not be getting vendor discounts because not all vendors may give a discount. And then on the other side of it, yes, I'm capturing a margin from, marking it up because we have administrative costs. I have a project manager that's, may be going out and assessing the work, or, a maintenance coordinator, that like all of that's overhead that I've got to pay for, that is true cost of the company. Anything you want to add to that, Matthew?
Nope.
Okay.
Randy would like to know, and you did this, and we have not done it, and I can be happy to explain why. Do you retail your maintenance services to non-clients?
Absolutely. That was another huge benefit for my company, is that, as we were growing our door count, and I was big on maintenance, then we just started, I was a state director. I was a local director on our boards for the real estate association. So I met with a lot of realtors and got a lot of business that way. And that's what actually grew, and it kind of ballooned from there. So it was actually very beneficial for us.
So we have not done this yet. We have almost 30 maintenance technicians that are W-2. I think that was a question a little bit further down. When we talk about in-house, these are all W-2 maintenance techs. Now we do hire vendors at 1099, but what I'm talking about is W-2. And so we what was the question, Spencer? You just deleted it right before my eyes. All right, I'm going back. Oh, non-client. Non-client. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we feel like we should be at about 40 techs. And so we feel like there's still room to run within our current portfolio. I would only do that, Randy, if you feel like you're outpacing your ability to service your own portfolio. I will tell you there, and to make the case for it, is as you create density with your maintenance organization, you make more money. You actually are able to do a cheaper job too, as weird as that is, just because the technicians don't have as far to drive and they're able to hit more and more work orders. The thing that we struggle with is how do we get into, what if we get into an issue where one of our competitors needs something done and we need something done? And how do we like decide who gets that technician? And so we didn't want to be in that yet. And at some point we think we might be willing to do some third-party maintenance stuff, but just know how you're going to handle that and set good expectations with the other property manager.
Agnes, how much do you charge for a project over 4 hours? That again goes into the standardized pricing. We would bid it out by how long we think the labor will take and what the estimate is on materials.
Who is making the call on the marked up bill to the owner? Is it the PM's job or some kind of maintenance supervisor? So Thomas, we have what I consider a friction to be managed within our organization. We have a maintenance division whose goal is to make money. We have a property management division whose goal is to look out for the best interest of the owner. That to me is a healthy friction to manage, right? Because you have both sides of it. And so when we think about creating an estimate, we send that to the property manager, and the property manager, if they're looking out for the owner, and we hope they are, will push back on a lot of those estimates and say, this is too high, this is too high. And then there's at least a dialogue. The great thing about that friction is it's almost the same friction you're going to feel like you have when you call the owner. And so a lot of times our PMs that'll push back some are the better prepared ones when they call the owners.
And they have the relationship with the owner. So I agree with that.
All right, we got 5 minutes, everybody.
Bonus incentives. We are thinking, what do you do, Matthew?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how we do it. I know it has to do with our utilization rate. And so if techs keep that utilization rate all month, then they earn a bonus. And I don't know exactly how much it is, so forgive me.
Ours was based off of KPIs. So
yeah, you want to align
incentives,
right? As much as possible, you want to align incentives. And so that's all we're trying to do. Do your techs know your billable rate? Absolutely. I mean, some of them in the early days were the ones that help us set because we didn't know what we were doing, and they did a great job of helping us set it. Did your techs know, Deb, your billable rate?
Yeah. And yeah, I guess I never thought to not tell them, but it wasn't like a secret, but it wasn't something that they knew.
Mark would like to know, do you build a bench of independent contractors for peak season? How to flex for off season? Fire people every October?
I never let people go because you'll never get them back.
Well,
so if you have good people, don't let them go.
Yeah, Mark, this is where that guaranteed 40 comes in. We have one of the way we think about flex work. Most of our maintenance technicians are doing the 2 to 4 hour work order. We're actually not great at the renovation stuff. But the way I think about this is in the off season, and when we think about off season, it's kind of fall and spring. It's when the weather gets nice, and it's kind of mild outside. We just notice that people are outside more. They're not flushing toilets. They're not seeing cracks in the house. And what we found is that we would put them on renovations when we have to. So we actually use that renovation work for flex work.
Okay.
Tim Allen, what a great name for maintenance, talking about maintenance.
No.
Does everybody remember that?
Any further discussion
show?
to combat that yet? Uh-huh. What was that called? Home improvement. We
Yep.
lose more techs working on their own. I didn't have that. I guess I kept our techs busy enough, so I don't know how they would be working on their own. So I don't know how
Yeah,
to
what Tim's
approach that.
saying
Do you?
is that a lot of them will go start their own business, and I think that's great.
Oh, that's what he means. Okay, got it.
I would actually look at this as a positive. If your techs are so good that they go start their own business, then keep a great relationship with them, because owning a business, take it from me, is
It's
not all
hard.
it's cracked up to be. Keep in mind, you handled all the collections, you found all the work,
Insurance.
all the insurance things. So some percentage of those will come back to you. And what we found, Tim, truly is that our best maintenance technicians actually own their own business, because they appreciate all the things that you provide for them, because they know how hard it is to make that happen.
All right,
Okay, so I think
we're coming down
Jason
to the
and
last
the
minute.
I think we can answer these two together. So basically, you know, we have lunch in the middle. They're both asking the same thing. How does one have lunch if you're billing out 38?
Yeah, they're not on the clock during lunch.
So they get a half an hour for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay. All right, that's it. Do you mark up materials?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't?
Glad you said it.
You
I
don't?
do.
Yeah. I mean, I
No,
think
I
that's
do
just
mark
part
up
of the
materials.
business.
I was just like, do I say that? Yeah, we do.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting, a lot of people will say, well, you know, Matthew's making all this money on maintenance, and we see the data. We work for a lot of institutional clients. We're actually the cheapest of all of our competitors for at least one of our clients. So, you know, you might think, oh, well, Matthew's making too much money, but the truth is, if you can control these things and you can make them really efficient,
Mhm.
you actually give them a better product, because, and you should make money doing that, because you're literally running a real business. We run a property management business, a maintenance business, a broker's business. You know, you ought to make money doing all of these things.
All
I'm
right.
gonna jump to Aaron. I'm gonna jump to the second to last one. Who sets the tenant tech schedule? I never let the tech set their schedule. I always had the maintenance coordinator set their schedule. Again, it was about control, and we needed to control where the technician was. Plus, it alleviated them having to do kind of administrative work. Their job was to go out and do the work order. If there was issues with the work order, they would call their maintenance, coordinator saying, hey, this one's taking a little bit longer. They would rearrange their schedule. I mean, we serve them. We need them. So as easy as I can make their job administratively, we handled that.
All right, Deb. It's past 4:30.
I know.
We can Spencer, you and I can stay here and finish these. Deb's got to go. She's got to go catch a flight.
I got a flight
to some far off land
make.
for a consulting client. Deb, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Deb.
You
You're
did an
welcome,
awesome
guys.
job. See you next time,
All
Deb.
right.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
All right, Aaron would like to know, what about landscaping? Oh my gosh, I have the craziest story about this. Aaron, I was out showing houses when we first got started, and I was trying to start a landscaping business. I bought the trailer, I bought the truck, I bought the nice lawnmower, two nice lawnmowers, like a riding lawnmower and a push lawnmower, weed eater, blower, like the whole thing. I went all in on this and pulled up to a house that I was showing and saw the truck there. And I went up and I didn't see him there. And I showed the house, and then I was like, what is going on? Like, where are they? And as I'm walking out of the house after showing the house, I look across the way, and there's there they are cutting the neighbor's yard. So I walk over and knock on the front door, and I say, ma'am, how much are you, this little old sweet lady answered the door and said, ma'am, how much are you paying these gentlemen to cut your yard? And she said, do they work for you? And I said, yep. And she goes, oh, well, don't fire them. And I said, they made that decision themselves. And so I didn't fire them on the spot because I needed somebody to drive the dang truck back to the office. But I made them drive the truck, finish the yard,
Yeah.
drive the truck back to the office, and then fired them at the office. But listen, landscaping is really hard in our business. In my experience, especially as you start to manage houses all across the city, you spend too much windshield time for landscaping to work. And to make landscaping work, you really need to be focused on one neighborhood where you're just literally pulling from house to house to house, and you're cutting more than you're driving. And my experience with property managers is that there's way too much windshield time there, and it's just really hard to make the numbers work. So, I found that the juice was not worth the squeeze.
All right, click that one off, Matthew. Inexperience with Rentvine.
Look, we're real good friends. I know Dave Borden super well. We use PMW, and they're great folks. I have no experience with Rentvine, but I do know some people that have had a lot of success and are really excited about it. I know one of the things they have promoted is their open API, and that the data is yours. So if that's important to you, I think might be worth checking out. Why not use AppFolio for work orders instead of paying for Property Meld? It's all about the communication piece. Property Meld actually integrates with AppFolio now. So many of you may know, if you work in AppFolio, that they've opened up what they call their AppFolio stack, I think. And Meld is one of the ones. And really, it solves that communication and scheduling problem. It automates a lot of that. And it just should cut down on the number of maintenance coordinators you have to hire to manage that. Where is the PM in the process of a work order? Or if you have an MC, the PM is out. Yeah, John, the PM only comes into play if it turns into an estimate. So we have generally it's a $500 like limit that our technicians can go do without getting prior approval from the owner. And so we will do that. Our PMs can log in and see what work orders are happening on their houses, but we don't actually ask their permission until we need like an approval from the owner. What do you do when tenants refuse to let someone in? I don't, that has happened. I don't remember what we did about it. I think it's kind of silly. But anytime you deal, I always say, anytime you deal with the public, you deal with the public, and you're certainly going to deal with some really weird residents living in your homes. If they won't let them in, then you just need to make sure you document that. And if it's something that you need to protect the house, then you need to probably follow whatever laws your state requires to serve them notice so you can go in. All right,
everybody. Wow.
I mean, how many? We answered 45 questions. That was
45
unbelievable.
questions plus
that may
the
be a
ones
new
that
record.
we started with. Yeah, definitely a new record. People love maintenance, love to hear about it. So, so we thank Deb for coming. Matthew, thanks for your time. And our next webinar, we'll be sending a notice out to you, is going to be April the 4th. Same time, 3 p.m. Central. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.